So, inflammatory bowel disease, part 4. So, the image on my left, and I think you're right, is kind of a cartoon of a normal intestine. And the other image is what it would look like with Crohn's disease. And all it's showing you is that when you get inflammation, you get a lot of swelling, just a lot of fluid brought to the area, a lot of inflammatory cells, and that what it's going to do is narrow the area you've got available for stuff to pass through the middle of that tube. So it's on the lining of it, it's going to look really reddened, it's going to look really irritated, and it's going to look really swollen. And everybody's had something on their body that's looked inflamed. That shouldn't look too strange to them. But then if you look at this little portion that says fissure, that's kind of what it means by a fistula. It's a crack in that skin lining that's starting to tunnel through the actual intestine itself. And if that gets all the way through, that's really bad, because then it can break through the intestine wall and start having infection break through into your abdominal cavity, and that's supposed to be sterile, and that's not good. And that little fissure itself can get infected, and we're going to talk about what an abscess is in a second. Blah. Okay. So if you look at an intestine that's got ulcerative colitis, it's going to look similar but worse. The patient's going to see things, so they're going to be in pain because they've got inflammation. They're going to have diarrhea because with all that swelling, they're not going to be able to absorb all their food stuff. So when you have unabsorbed food particles, it draws water with it, so they're going to have diarrhea. You might have bloody diarrhea because you've got blood that's leaking out into your intestine. They're going to be fatigued because A, they could be anemic, and B, they're not absorbing all of their food they're supposed to be digesting. But now you've got the malnutrition portion. And why? Because you've got your small intestine that can be involved. It could be duodenum that could be involved. It could be jejunum. It could be ileum. Heck, your stomach could be involved. That might not bother you as much from an absorption standpoint, but certainly could bother you from a digestion and breakdown of foodstuff standpoint. So what kind of malnutrition can you see? So it's going to vary a little bit, but carbohydrates, fats, proteins. If your jejunum is knocked out, that's the part that does the major part of your nutrient absorption. So if your jejunum is not able to function, you're going to have a hard time absorbing fatty acids, glycerides, amino acids, small peptides, glucose. And so you're not getting energy intake into you. Think about the vitamins you're not going to get. So your B and C, vitamin C, all of your B vitamins, iron absorption, bile salts, all of that stuff requires an intact small intestine. So if that's not functioning and you need those micronutrients to help with other body functions, you're out of luck. So bleeding, and this is important. If you've got bleeding from Crohn's disease in your stomach, because stomach acid is there, it probably will look black by the time it comes out of your behind. If it's in your duodenum and it's before your pancreatic juices start neutralizing the stomach acid, it will still probably look black. If it's any part of the small intestines after that, or you have Crohn's disease in your large intestines, if it's a really slow trickle of the bleed, you may not see much because it's going to have mixed in there with all of your food stuff. But there's a chance, if it's far enough down, you may actually see red blood. So it depends. If it's duodenum north of the pancreas, it's probably going to be black because there's been too much acid. If it's south of the pancreas, you may very well see red blood. And once my 5 minutes come back here, let's talk about abscesses because this is the part that can get really, really painful.